Hello, everybody, and welcome to TVE versus Marvel and DC Episode 4. This is the show where we discuss the cinematic universes on TV for Marvel and then also for DC. We're going to be talking about Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Flash, Arrow. We're going to talk about Supergirl this time, and that kind of doesn't really necessarily tie into the connected universes, but it's kind of a big DC show, so we figured we should at least address the first episode. Maybe we'll talk about it more as it goes on.
It's a potential Arrowverse show.
Yes, it is.
It could be at some point in the future.
But we're definitely going to talk about the first episode, just because it's a big thing. So
it's a potential, like Constantine wasn't an Arrowverse show.
Mm-hmm.
But now Constantine, played by the same actor, is the exact same character is going to appear in Arrow, so that retroactively makes Constantine an Arrowverse show now.
Yeah, so it's worth talking about now. We might not talk about it week to week. We might talk about it week to week. We're not sure yet. But we're definitely going to talk about our impressions of the first episode, if nothing else. So let's get started with Supergirl. Season 1, Episode 1, appropriately titled Pilot, as most first episodes are. What did you guys think? Just kind of like, give me your vague kind of impressions right off the bat.
Well, you and I were talking a little bit about it beforehand, but I thought it did have a lot going on in it, and it could be a little bit cheesy at times, but I overall liked it. And I thought it was a solid start that has a lot of potential. Also, I think one of the things I found so refreshing, and yes, I know that a lot of people are like, okay, they pushed way too much with the girl power stuff, and that's a fair complaint. At the same time, I have watched a lot of comic book movies and a lot of comic book TV series, and I've never before seen prioritization of female relationships like this. I swear this show already has more female relationships than 90% of the MCU combined. And it's so refreshing. Like that they let her primary emotional support be her sister, and that her sister is also relevant to the plot, and that the primary antagonist for probably at least the season is a woman, and that the whole history, like that she has a similar thing going on with her mother that Clark Kent always was having going on with Jor-El. It's just like, it's so gratifying to finally see someone let it be female relationship driven. So I'm really happy on that front.
Well,
I enjoyed it. Basically the same stuff Kat was saying. It was cheesy at times. It felt a little rushed. But I get that they want it by the end.
It feels like a pilot.
I mean, I feel like some stuff was rushed just because they wanted to, by the end of the pilot, have her established as Supergirl and have her, so they want to get all that origin background stuff out of the way as quick as possible. I get that.
I think they should have put a twist at the end that the pilot was really the villain behind everything. And then the name Pilot would make more sense. Okay,
that's going to call into question ever calling the first episode of a series Pilot, though.
Hey, the first episode of Lost was called Pilot, and it ended with the pilot hanging inside the tree. Well, that was the end of the second episode, I think, but it aired together as a two-parter, so...
Yeah, I remember that.
It would, it would be an awesome twist if Superman wasn't really Superman, but he was Ultraman from the Earth 3's crime syndicate, posing as Superman.
Okay, you're going over my head here. I don't. You're going into references I don't understand.
Out-nerded, Tyson.
Yeah.
I out-nerded you. Yeah.
Actually, bringing up the Lost point, that actually it's one thing I do kind of have in response to a lot of these shows is I wish we would let more shows have 2-hour pilots, because Lost is one of my favorite series pilots ever. And my other favorites.
It wasn't just the first episode with Lost. They did that like almost every season premiere and season finale. They took 2 hours.
And it's so what more television needs.
Yeah.
Because my other two favorite pilots are Firefly and Twin Peaks, both of which also have 2-hour premiere pilots, and it gives you so much more breathing room.
That was also an ABC show, I believe, like Lost.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they didn't do this as a 2-hour pilot, considering all the material they want to cover.
Well, I don't think anyone is allowed to get away with a 2-hour pilot these days. I think networks are too.
Scream Queens did that.
Networks aren't willing to take the risk on it.
That's different. With Scream Queens, it wasn't actually a 2-hour pilot. It was like 2 episodes. They aired 2 episodes back to back, which they actually have been doing quite a bit with a lot of shows. Surprisingly, with a lot of sitcoms too, where they'll put like 2 back to back or something, and they've done that a couple weeks in a row sometimes. But they usually won't do like a true 2-hour pilot where it's like to get like the full pilot experience, you need like a 2-hour time. You know, they usually don't do that, and because of that, you usually end up with something that like feels kind of rushed and stuff to set everything up, which is unfortunate. Lost, like, it really did feel like, you know, a 2-hour pilot, and it was. You know, I mean, they broke it down into 2 episodes later, but it really, like, that was like that arc of that first step, you know?
It's better to watch it all in one go than to watch it in pieces. It's a fantastic pilot.
Yeah, definitely. I think I enjoyed Supergirl. I think I'm going to continue to enjoy it. It's just as good as Flash or Arrow right now. I mean, it's already on that level, so there's not much more they need to do with it.
I had a few gripes I'd brought up with Kat. It has to do with some of the kind of the feminism in it, and I'm not against feminism, and I'm not against them portraying a strong female character. There's just a few things that were a little too on the nose. Kind of making it like the one I pointed out to Kat before was there was a point where her sister was talking to the guy she works with who's just an asshat through the whole episode, and like he says, you know, if she can handle it or something. It's all like, why do you say that? Because she's a woman, you know? And I'm like, that was so on the nose. But like then you know, she said, because that's what we're hoping that he thinks or something, and then we make it like, oh, so the villain's sexist too, but the main person he's working for is a woman as well. It kind of like felt like a little forced, and like that kind of annoyed me and took me a little out of it.
It did. Yeah, there were some points where it felt like they were like really hammering it home, you know.
Like, feminists, tune into us. Come on. Come on.
But I didn't mind that too much. That didn't bother me very much.
It didn't like bother me. It just like, it was like I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, you know.
But it's interesting. The guy that her sister is working for, his name is Hank Henshaw, and in the Superman lore, I don't even know how this happens, but in Superman lore, Hank Henshaw somehow becomes an evil cyborg that is out to destroy the world.
As you do.
He becomes an evil cyborg, and at one point even impersonates Superman.
We know at one time Cat became an evil cyborg, and we're glad to have put those dark days behind us. It's just something that happens, you know?
Right. I'm going to say in response to what you're saying, Tyson, because I think that's a fair criticism. They were hitting it pretty heavily. My 2 responses to that are, first of all, I find it hard to believe that will continue past the pilot, like all the Superman references. Right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, get it out of the way. Now you can be your own thing. We can stop at that. And the second of all is, I think we've hit this kind of renaissance of comic book television shows that we've never had before. And Supergirl is really the first of its kind, not only in a really long time, but also in this era. And there's no other show that's better positioned to say, if this works, other female-led properties could also work. And so, so the showiness of it, I feel like I kind of forgive them for, because I think if they succeed, then they have earned themselves a few victory laps. Though I understand why you and others might say
it's no worse than other eye-rolling moments and so many other pilots this fall. So it's not like, you know, as a whole, it's one of the better pilots of the fall. So it's not, you know.
Also, Melissa Benoist. Melissa Benoist did an excellent job as Supergirl, as Kara, as her alter ego. She was just adorable throughout the entire thing, especially when she was like in her civilian persona. The way she acted so nerdy, even though like as Supergirl she's not really that nerdy, but it was endearing.
She's endearing, yeah.
Yeah,
nice. And did either of you know this? I only recently learned this a few months ago. Apparently, Stephen Amell, Grant Gustin, and Melissa Benoist were all three the very first person who auditioned for each of their respective roles.
Huh.
Really?
In three cases, they wound up being the perfect person for it. So.
Here, there, Mark Guggenheim is just lazy and casts the first person who comes in.
No,
yeah, again, no.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say I think the quality of Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen and Grant Gustin as Barry Allen disputes that.
No, yeah. Yeah, no,
I think Stephen Amell just like jumped in front of the line of everybody else and ripped off his shirt, and they're like, "Okay, fine. You got it."
They had a salmon ladder in the audition room.
Yeah.
And that's when we knew he would be Oliver Queen. Stephen Amell's an awesome Oliver Queen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's an awesome Oliver Queen. He nails it. Holy cow.
But we're gonna get off of Arrow real quick, just so we don't accidentally.
Oh, sure.
that here.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I wasn't gonna go into Arrow spoilers. But yeah,
I just wanted to jump us away from there.
I appreciate that.
So yeah, great casting there. Yeah, it's solid. It's a B+.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. By network standards, I'd rank it a little bit lower for counting, cable shows and stuff like that tend to have a little bit of a higher bar. But by network standards, it is one of the better pilots as well.
I'm strictly rating it against the other superhero shows that are on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Against S.H.I.E.L.D. and Supergirl and all the stuff we're talking about tonight.
yeah, exactly. I'm not rating it against like Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd score.
Uh-oh.
We don't actually use a review scale on TV Enthusiast, so it's weird that we're all adapting quickly to a letter grade here.
I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah.
It gets 3 exploded Kryptons out of 5.
So let's just hope that they don't, start playing around with like meteor rocks giving people mutant powers or something.
Tom Welling needs to make a cameo on the show.
No, don't try to tie it back into Smallvilleverse, because then how will they ever explain it if it tries to interact with Arrowverse?
No, I don't want them to tie it in, but it would be funny if they gave him a cameo, because like they always put cameos with any Superman property with people that are connected to it. Smallville had appearances by like Christopher Reeves and so many other people, and then they've already have had Dean Cain from Lois and Clark playing her father.
And her mother's being played by actress who played Supergirl in the '80s Supergirl film.
So cool.
Yeah.
They did that. Kind of like having Barry Allen's father be played by Flash.
Yeah,
they do that with Superman like all the time though. Like they're always trying to bring back the Superman people. So I think it would actually be funny if they bring in Tom Welling, but if they brought him in not as Clark, but as like some other role. What would be great, what would be hilarious, is if like he ended up having to be saved by her, and like as he's like falling or whatever, he's like, "Somebody save me!"
God! Oh my God! But no, Mark Guggenheim, I guess he seems to like this sort of nostalgic, like kind of casting, because he did that with Flash too. And I'm sure if there was a Green Arrow show somewhere in the past, actors from that was showed up in Arrow, but there's not. Well, maybe the guy who played a Green Arrow in Smallville will show up in Arrow sometime, in like some other role. He could be Oliver Queen's long lost brother.
Please no.
Yeah, right.
It's all dun dun dun. It's all like soap opera moment.
Hey, Iris
Been in
West.
a coma all this time.
Hey, Iris is getting one. Why not Oliver?
Well, let's not go to the Flash
for it in the
yet.
comics.
Yeah.
Let's not go to the Flash yet. Let's save that for after. Let's go into Agents of Shield now. Now, Agents of Shield, I already know from talking to you guys earlier. Will, I hadn't watched it yet at the time. I know Kat had a few gripes about it when we disagreed a little bit on that, and that's what I kind of want to explore now. Now is our chance to really talk about that and get our opinions about the most recent episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 4,722 Hours is the name of the episode. It's Season 3, Episode 5. This is the one in which we explore what Simmons has been doing all this time in this alien world, this blue alien world with no sun. So I'm going to let you kick it off, Kat, because you had a few gripes, and I'm just going to give you the floor.
Like, first of all, I want to say I like a lot about the idea of the episode. I like that they broke formats, you know. I like that they just went, we want to show you what happened to her in those 6 months, and we're just going to dedicate a whole episode to it. I thought that was great. And I thought Elizabeth Hunstrom was great in the episode. What I didn't like about it was what we know leading up to this primarily is that Simmons' response to this is that she wants to go back to the planets, which means and then we find out in this episode that she met a guy and they ended up hooking up. So the whole crux of the episode isn't Simmons went away and spent all this time in isolation and discovered new layers of herself, and now she comes back changed and traumatized by it. Or it isn't Simmons went away and came back with all these fantastic new plot developments that could hint at the future of where this series is going. Instead, it's Simmons went away and hooked up with a guy whose sole purpose seems to be to drive a wedge between Fitz and Simmons, thereby inserting a love triangle, and I hate love triangles. So I thought it was actually a bit of a disservice to Simmons' character to boil it down basically to that.
I 100% agree with that. I have watched it, and I will say that just seems like a cheap ploy to get some relationship drama, some love triangle happening. And it's like, with this premise, there's so much more interesting they could have done with it. It is really a shame that they just let it be hindered by this kind of weak soap opera style writing. It's such a low point for the season. Other than that, the episode, like Kat said, the episode was fantastic. Learning what happened on that planet was awesome. The idea that there's something sinister and evil on that planet, I love that. I love the villain. I would like to see that explored more, because now I want to know what that is. But yeah, her whole motivation for going back just because of this guy, it's, come on, people. And I also felt like they didn't have like any real chemistry, like Simmons and this guy that she hooked up with. Like, he was just there, and I don't know.
I think that's what it was. I think it wasn't. She doesn't like love him. She might think she loves him at this point, but I don't think that that's what they were going for. I think what they were going for is that she was in a desperate, horrible situation, and he was there. And right. That's what it means. So I think, if they do try to pull in like a love triangle and bring him back and do that, I think what we're quickly going to see is that like a relationship like that doesn't last. It doesn't work because it only works because they were in that situation, because they were the only ones that had each other. And that's why the two of them who would otherwise not work in that way and didn't have like a real chemistry to each other, it's Adam and Eve, I guess. They're the only ones there, There's no choice in the matter at that point. And, with Simmons, when it started turning romantic, was when she was basically at, like, her worst, They'd missed their portal, and that's when it went for her. Because it was kind of like, it was like that one step where she had to kind of conclude that there's a possibility that this just might be it. whereas he'd already kind of done that. He'd already kind of decided, well, yeah, I'm just here for the rest of my existence. And I think that's what it was. So I don't think it was necessarily written for the purpose of creating like tension of a love triangle. I think there's an element of that in there, but I don't think that that's the primary purpose. I think it was it was used as a tool to kind of show like how bad it got for her and what she was able to latch onto in that moment. And I thought they actually executed it fairly well. I think that I agree with you that there is going to be like some annoying love triangle issues connected to it, and I think that those are definitely part of what they intended with it. But I think that I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to kind of what they've been doing this season with this show, and it feels natural to me, like the way it progressed, But I mean that's how I read into it, which is different from how you guys read into it. So I mean, we'll have to see as it progresses.
I can say that. I think I don't know. I just like we know from the episode prior to that she tells Andrew. I think it's Andrew. Anyway, she tells someone that she actually did give up hope, and that's a huge deal. And I feel like you're kind of expecting that from her to the episode, and then it's kind of like, well, she had someone there to hook up with, so it wasn't that big of a deal that she lost hope. And I think I would have felt the impact of that whole notion greater if she had lost hope and that was it. I didn't want anything to cushion that for her, and so I feel like it's in that way it undermined the emotional journey of the character.
That's true. Yeah, I felt like
forward. I'm pretty.
I felt like since she had somebody to be with that whole time, she couldn't have possibly come out of it as emotionally damaged as they were letting on.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
So. Yeah, I agree with you on the emotionally damaged side of it. That like they played her off as like having been like in the wilderness by herself, or like castaway kind of, that kind of like feral state almost. So I agree with that kind of drops the ball on that side of it, but. I don't know. Like I feel like it worked in the episode. That's just my read on it, I guess.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I am interested at some of the notions they introduced, and I like that they left them unresolved because it means that there's still more to be done with them in this season. Like the whole question of was the planet itself alive? What exactly was that figure in the wilderness? Like,
love a good mystery.
What is the tie to the Inhumans? Because we know from last season that the Inhumans were afraid of the monolith.
Oh yeah, that's true. So this
I'm excited to see where they go with the plot elements. I think they have some interesting stuff there.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, and I had forgotten it, like in like while I was bringing up the air point, was that. If she had just been crushed and given up hope and then Fitz had managed to save her, then we would have missed, there's another part of it what we would have missed, which was Simmons being able to figure out basically how the monolith worked and pinpointing like where things happen and being able to figure that out. I think we would have lost a lot of that. And there's a part of what's going on with that storyline that she didn't wait to be rescued, which is what it seemed like when Fitz went in and grabbed her and pulled her back previously. And it's not that. It's like she kind of figured that out on her own. And if Fitz wasn't there, she wouldn't have made it out. But it's only because she wouldn't have made it out because of the interference of this presence on the planet. Otherwise, she would have gotten there in time and crossed through, But there was an interference in there, and then that made Fitz's presence necessary for saving her. So I felt that kind of gave her a bit of agency that we would have lost if...
Yeah, and it was very in character, too. Like, I really appreciated that. I do think that could have been executed without there being another person. She could have gone through and just found the remains of all the astronauts having died or something like that.
I was half expecting the reveal to be that he didn't exist or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Of the episode.
Cool. But I think the tag pretty well confirmed that yes, he did exist. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the alien presence.
Maybe.
That would be a cool twist. If
that would be
whatever
cool
that
twist.
evil presence is on the planet, that would be a cool twist.
I also think that it's not going to turn out to necessarily be an evil presence, because usually I heard somebody else bring this up, but it's true, is that usually when there's like a really kind of dark, mysterious figure and they tell you, don't go to that area and stuff like that, it usually ends up going into like the misunderstood territory.
So. Also, question: Can you power a laptop with a cell phone battery?
I'd say that's kind of overthinking the show.
Yeah, I know, right?
So this I'll go into some little tech geekery right here. New computers and cell phones, like new ones that aren't necessarily out right now or are just coming out, use something called USB Type-C, which is like a USB format 3. I don't know, whatever. And you can actually use your phone to power external devices, which would include laptops and other devices like that. You can charge either direction, which you can't do normally. Now, that's on new stuff that they wouldn't have then, but of course also, this is like a highly customized device, as you already mentioned, that Fitz had worked in ways to make the battery last much longer and stuff. So.
Right. I mean, I'm not overthinking it. I'm just thinking, should I file this under my dumb tech moments in TV list?
No, it's actually pretty close to stuff that's going on right now. So.
I feel like it's kind of like going along with all of Felicity's hacking on Arrow. If you can go along with that,
that's a little bit more further.
This is also an episode where we're supposed to believe that Fitz was able to prolong her cell phone's battery life so that it worked like 1,500% of what a normal cell phone battery life does. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll just go with it.
No, the stuff that happens on Flash and Arrow is definitely far, far more egregious than this.
Flash has a lot of problems, but we can get into that when we talk about Flash.
Felicity does the joke amongst people that are into computers that watch TV shows with hackers in them and stuff is the magic finger hacking, where it's like she just starts typing furiously and problems go away.
Yes.
So yeah, that's pretty egregious. I think this is all kind of reasonable, especially considering the level of technology that we've already seen that SHIELD has access to. I think that implies that, this might be a technology. Being able to power something off of a phone might be something that's not available to most people right now, but, I mean, it is something that is in existence,
This is the MCU, and their technology is a little more advanced than what we have.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say, because I'm not as much of a tech geek, my implausibility issue with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was there's a moment in first season where Simmons says that she had 2 PhDs by the time she was 17. Most of my family have pursued PhDs, and the notion that you would finish 1 at 17, let alone 2, is so absurd. Those are those moments where you seriously just have to shrug and go with it, because to me that's way more ridiculous than anything.
She got her first PhD when she was 10, second when she was 17.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, though, there are people that are that young that do have multiple PhDs, but, they're kind of very rare fringe cases. I knew somebody who was I think in his second year of medical school, and I met him, and he was 16. And so he'd already finished his 4 years.
By the time you're 18.
Yeah.
Advanced degrees, a PhD, completion of a PhD is a huge, daunting process.
Oh,
and
yeah, definitely.
It also bothers me because it's yet another instance of Hollywood conflating genius with wunderkind.
She's also British, so I know my sister got a master's in English in Manchester, in England. and there it's like a 1-year program, whereas it's a 2-year program in the United States.
Sure.
So
But I think it's just the show's example of trying way too hard to impress upon us that these characters are geniuses.
Whenever they point out like how many PhDs they have,
I guffawed so hard when she said that. It just went, okay, show.
Whenever it shows like I have 7 PhDs, it's like, okay, so what you're saying is you spent your entire life not accomplishing anything by just writing about other shit.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because, I mean, people get their PhDs and then go on to make their accomplishments. But yeah, that's a common kind of trope where you always go like, I had 10 PhDs by the time you were born, or, you know. Stargate did that too a lot with, like, Rodney McKay talking about all his PhDs and stuff.
And it's like, okay, a person can get a PhD at like 40 and be a genius, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen before you're 20, and it doesn't have to be multiple degrees. Anyway, that is my little soapbox.
I got 20 PhDs 5 months into my mother's pregnancy with me.
Yeah.
By PhDs, he means pretty huge disappointments.
The doctor spanked me and handed me my degree. In that order.
But you got the PhDs for.
I enjoy the show, and I think the more I know for myself, and I think a lot of people are the same, the more you enjoy the show, the more forgiving you are of little nitpicky details like that.
Right,
exactly. Or like whatever the show claims that.
If the overall,
it's a really great show that I have a lot of fun watching. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't care a great deal.
If the overall writing is good, if the characters are enjoyable, all this nitpicky stuff you can forgive it because
exactly.
It's not important ultimately.
Yeah. There is a threshold. There is a certain point where that kind of nitpicky stuff can go too far. I think Kat reached that, or bordered that threshold with The Flash last season. Everybody has their own standards of it. Their, suspension of disbelief. Their line in the sand, where they're like, okay, that's too much.
To talk about the most recent Flash.
So yeah, let's get right into The Flash.
Oh yes, this is a good one.
So first off, Will had talked about earlier that they went like excessive on the budget on this, and we're probably not going to see much of the big bad at the very end.
Let's save that. Let's save that particular tidbit for later. Let's talk about the rest of the episode. This was obviously a setup episode for Legends of Tomorrow. So setting up Firestorm's character to go off and say, "Bye guys, I'm going to go to be in a new TV show now." It's basically the
it's just going to be meta. It's all, but where are you going? It's like, to another show.
Yeah. Well, basically what happened is we find out Martin Stein can't exist as his own person. He needs to be merged with somebody in order to stay alive and function. Thus,
needs to live through symbiosis.
Yes. So thus they go hunting for a suitable partner for him.
They find a ex high school football player and a unknown to them at the time psychopathic.
Genius.
I'm not familiar with the comics, but as soon as I heard the football player's name, I was like, oh, yeah, he's totally the comic book character here.
Yeah.
I mean, Jefferson Jackson.
They got the
Jefferson Jackson. It was also obvious it was going to be him because they focused on his character right off the bat before they even introduced the concept of the episode. And so you're like, okay, so he's going to be super important to the episode somehow. And then that happens. And so you know off the bat that's the character that they're going to go with out of the two.
They were a little bit heavy-handed with like their preference for the other guy that with
Well, Caitlin Snow was heavy-handed with her
Yeah.
preference, and she just liked the guy because he was a scientist, like her, like Stein, mostly like her. That's all she was.
I spent most of the episode questioning why she was so personally invested in him.
Yeah.
The show did not do a good job of explaining why this was so important to her that they go.
Well, the other thing is, like, you think that where it would be important for her is just in that, it was her, I guess, husband because they were married for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I thought that would be the explanation, but at the end, they didn't really give that.
In that case, wouldn't she be looking for somebody to replace him that was like him because he wasn't a genius?
My take on it was that she was being biased in that since she was a scientifically minded person, she was being biased towards this guy because he was also a scientific, he also excelled in that area. And so I guess she kind of took it personally because she was like pushing her whole idea, science, this is my thing. This is what is the best because I said it's the best.
Anyways, Dr. Psycho and Dr. Psycho and Dr. Stein were not a good match as far as the actual connection. The connection failed, but it did unleash the latent powers in Dr. Psycho.
Yes, Dr. Psycho, and then we find they convince Jax to go, and again Caitlin shows her bias because she is totally against Jax because she sees him as this dumb jock, and it's like, oh, she's just straight up insulting to this guy.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of shades of what they did with Simmons on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last season when she went all like anti-inhuman. It was like, wait, why do you just turn your character into a bigot all of a sudden?
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, a little classism here on Caitlin's part or whatever. What's her name again?
Caitlin,
that's it. A little, yeah.
but Jax prevails. The connection works. He turns out to be a perfect match for Stein, and they go kick Dr. Psycho's butt, and that's resolved. There's also the side plot line where Iris has to confront her mother, who ran out on her, and that she thought was dead because her dad told her mother was dead. But now she's finding out she's actually alive. She's in Central City. And there's several bombshells dropped. First, her mother drops the bombshell that she's dying. And then afterwards, she drops the bombshell that, surprise, Iris has a brother that she didn't know existed.
Did not dig this storyline at all. I'm not digging the whole mother coming back to make amends storyline here at all. It's just it feels so forced, and it's more of like pushing towards the stuff that didn't work with Iris. Fishing towards the stuff that
Isis was in the Flash last season. I missed those episodes.
Oh, you missed the. Oh, good. No. Yeah,
I don't know if I complained about this last week. Maybe I did. But I was so pissed when she let her dad off the hook for keeping more secrets from her. Like, oh my gosh, I swear the man lives by, I must keep secrets from everyone around me. And granted, I realize a lot of people on these shows have this problem, but holy cow, he spent the entire last season keeping secrets from her to the point of being offensive, and she let him off the hook way too easy. And then she let him off the hook even easier here.
He went
to an inconvenience to the writers to have Iris actually be legitimately angry at someone. I swear she is like the worst written character on this show.
He went to the Laurel Lance School of Keeping Secrets.
I was just gonna say that he went to the Smallville School of Interpersonal Relationships.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's a lie to everyone.
Oh my gosh! I swear, this show it it just drives me nuts when it comes to almost anything to do with Iris.
At least they're finally addressing that Cisco trying to keep his powers a secret a little bit.
Right.
They kind of address that.
A little bit. I imagine they'll get more into it next week.
Stein told Cisco before he took off to not be afraid of his powers or shame.
He basically, in friendly terms, said, like, this is really stupid. Just
yeah, it's really stupid. Get over it. Get the hell over it, Cisco.
This is what's going to be the case, though, I feel, with The Flash.
But this
the first half of the season, all the way up until it goes on hiatus, this is all going to be set up for Legends of Tomorrow, and all of the kind of like plots that are more relevant to the actual characters are going to just be these kind of awkward kind of moments until that cutoff point happens and they've built up Legends of Tomorrow enough, at which point, when it comes back for the second half of the season, we're going to get like a stronger run. Hopefully a quick, more expedient run of the kind of bigger plot for these shows.
Also,
in particular, The Flash.
Also, the whole stuff about Iris's mom and stuff, that's just a setup, a ploy to get Wally West on the show.
Right? It's not really even for Iris's own sake. Like, she can't even get a halfway decent storyline.
No, she can't. It's just like, here's this popular character, we want to introduce him. This has nothing to do with you, Iris, actually.
Poor Iris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it isn't bad enough that she has horrible chemistry with the man she's supposed to be in love with through the whole series, but...
Okay, also, all of Barry's... I'm still hung up on Iris, and so I refuse to ever date anyone ever. Really, dude?
Oh, I know. Totally. I would totally go for Patty Spivot. Barry is an idiot if he doesn't. End of story. Like,
well, and why is he hung up on Iris? Maybe he like psychologically examine that, put it beyond him, and then he can finally move on and like actually date other women.
Yeah.
I worry it's because the writers are still wanting them to ultimately be the one true pairing further down the line.
Which is disappointing.
You know, you can diverge from the comic books in some aspects like this. I won't be mad if Iris doesn't get with Barry just because that was the comic book pairing. I promise I won't be angry.
Right. I'm just going to say right now, I think Arrow's willingness to diverge from its source material is a big reason why it's as good as it is. Because from my understanding, Arrow diverged pretty dramatically, and I think it's...
In the comics, Oliver Queen's one true pairing is Dinah Lance.
Laurel Lance, yeah. But I mean, not even just that. I mean, they basically invented and merged together a bunch of characters.
Yeah, they did.
And it's so been for the best. Like,
so in the comics, his one true pairing is the Black Canary, and in the show, his one true pairing is a character they completely invented for the show, Felicity. Apparently.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Do not say that. Do not say that. I hate all things involving a relationship, and I am not even going there. I'm not even saying specifically in terms of romance. I'm saying it should be willing to diverge from your source material.
We're getting dangerously close to an accidental spoiler or something leaking out here.
Yeah, jump off of that.
Okay, good point.
I can't say anything else about that. But okay, and then the most amazing thing happens in this episode. Throughout the entire episode, Patty Spivot is working on a case involving some kind of half-human, half-shark man.
Barry thinks it's impossible, despite all the other shit that's happened in this city.
Yeah, Barry just casually...
A giant shark man, that's impossible. No, it has to be a telepathic gorilla.
Barry just casually dismisses it as nothing and like goes about his business. and then it's never brought up again for the entire episode. So, and then the way...
And there's a shark person.
The way they did it was amazing, though, because at the end, like Barry does like his closing the monologue type stuff that like usually closes out the episode. And then at the end of his like internal monologue, there's the Shark Man. Well, actually, King
You just see
Shark.
his hand. You see his hand reaching behind him.
Yeah.
As he's like doing the monologue, and then just wraps around his whole body.
Actually, Actually, the character's name is King Shark, and he is an established DC Comics supervillain. He was a member of the Suicide Squad. But yeah, King Shark shows up. It's amazing. And then Earth 2, Dr. Wells kills him.
Or stops him.
Well, he blew a hole through his chest, so I think he's dead. But Mark Guggenheim did say in an interview that there is an Earth 1 King Shark, and that was Earth 2 King Shark. So they could bring the character back. Although they said that CGI is really expensive, so they can't do a full episode around him.
Earth 1 King Shark will just be like a guy with a shark fin on his head.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then Barry finally confronts Earth 2 Wells for the first time. And then that's it. That was an amazing way to end what was otherwise a pretty mediocre episode.
It was cool.
I'm glad he's going to be on Legends of Tomorrow. I am kind of sad to see Victor Garber go, but that's mostly because I love Victor Garber.
Yeah, Victor Garber was great. I thought Victor Garber could have made a great replacement for Wells.
Right? He was
yes.
a paternalistic role for everyone in a group of people that desperately needs more maturity.
Exactly.
Give them advice and tell them when they're being dumb.
Exactly.
So I got to get out of this hormonal mess.
And Joe West clearly does not qualify for that. So hell bent on keeping secrets from everybody.
This is my impression of Joe West. He gets a phone call, picks it up. Yes, this is Sprint. Oh, you're offering my daughter a great new rate on her cell phone plan. I have to go. Daddy, who is that? Nothing.
Right? Oh my gosh, that was my biggest issue with the whole problem in the first season is he was taking away her agency and then using justification of, I'm her father and I just want to protect her.
Right.
Which is like sexist offensive.
Well, that's the same thing with Laurel.
He is the worst father on television.
That's the same thing between Laurel and her dad in reverse, though.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't think it's great that the characters do that. That
the characters do that. Yeah, she's like Laurel's like keeping secrets from her dad. It's like, oh, it's for his own good. He has a bad heart. Level.
Yeah. It's anyway.
Again, veering dangerously close to.
Well, it's not Arrow. Yeah, but I'm talking about
too much about Arrow. Something could slip.
About last season of Arrow, so.
Still, yeah, I'm worried. You could make a comment that like Kat could then deduce from, you know.
Don't.
Well, I can transition into Arrow now because I feel like we've pretty well discussed Flash. I can flit away and you can discuss that.
So we're going to move on to Arrow. Thank you, Kat, for joining us. You can see her again on our podcast.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
So now we can talk about all the Arrow spoilers. I can even talk about spoilers from the 2 leaked episodes. No, I didn't watch those.
Oh, there are 2 leaked episodes? I didn't even know that.
I was following the Arrow thread on NeoGaf, and yeah, there's apparently the next 2 episodes have already leaked. The next episode in line being the Constantine episode, which I'm looking forward to. Because now from the end of this episode, it's totally obvious what Constantine is there to do. They said Sarah doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
Great. Who's an expert in souls and all that? Yes.
That's going to be why the real question is going to be like, how does Oliver know who the fuck Constantine is?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like in the synopsis it said Oliver calls a favor from an old friend, John Constantine. When did Oliver run into Constantine? mean, we're coming over. And was that during his 5th year on the island? Was Constantine on the island at one point?
They met at the people whose last names rhyme with teen convention. Let's talk about Arrow then. So that's what's coming up next week is the Constantine episode, the return of Sarah's soul potentially. But this episode we had Laurel dealing with the repercussions of taking Sarah to Nanda Parbat, as the official description says. So basically, Sarah's feral, soulless. She decides to tell her dad because, she
decides to tell her dad because Laurel learned her lesson about keeping secrets. Of course, this might have been the one thing to keep from her dad, but who knows? Because her dad goes to Damien Dark, and Damien Dark says, well, she kind of doesn't have a soul. You're better off killing her.
Put her down!
Put her down! Damien Dark says, she's Old Yeller.
Yeah. So yeah, there's not great plans in store for Sarah from Damien Dark's side as far as his advice.
What did Laurel think was going to happen, resurrecting somebody who's been dead for a year now?
Well, probably on Showtime, probably less than that, but but even still, yeah, it's. What do you mean there's complications? Even though you told me there were complications for healing a cut with this Lazarus pit?
Right.
What do you mean there's going to be even more complications for returning somebody to life after they're decomposed? And
Thea wasn't even dead, and and she's feeling like
she has to murder people.
she has to murder people because the rage is too much. So it's like, yeah.
So Oliver reveals to everybody that he says he has a surprise for everyone. Of course, they all assume it's going to be his engagement to Felicity, which it isn't. But instead, it's that he is going to be running for mayor. I actually kind of enjoyed the way everyone was kind of like, okay, do you have any idea what your issues are?
Yeah, right.
My issue is not dying.
I can protect myself as the Green Arrow.
That's his platform.
That's his platform. Vote for Oliver Queen for mayor. I won't die because I'm the Green Arrow.
I'm already putting my life on the line. It's no different.
No different. What I loved the most about this episode was this probably has the best character moments between Oliver Queen and Sergeant Lance, or Captain Lance now. Chest hair. This is, like, I think, a new turning point in their relationship, because Oliver Queen finally finds out that Lance is working with Damien Dark, and it creates this intense confrontation where they kind of, like, each of them kind of, like, let out their demons, and they come to like this understanding of each other that's like really profound, and I'm just like, whoa.
That's good. I mean, hopefully that means no more passive aggressive Lance.
Yeah, no more. Yeah, I'm hoping this is no more passive aggressive Lance. Exactly. I'm glad. I think we're beyond that now, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like last episode repaired the Oliver and Diggle relationship, and this episode repaired the Oliver and Captain Lance relationship. I think we're just fixing broken relationships left and right this season, aren't we?
The season is about coming together.
Yes.
Yeah, just as long as we can get away from all the passive aggressive like comments and bitter like looks that characters are giving each other now.
Yeah.
I'll be happy. Yeah, we want evil with a smile, like like we get from Damien Dark. We don't want passive aggressive stares from other characters.
Right, exactly. No passive aggressive stares. The plot of this episode was pretty basic. There's a group of rogue cops stealing drugs and, stealing drugs from gangs and turning around and selling them to other gangs and doing it over and over again, making a nice profit for themselves.
Well, there's a kind of interesting plot development there, too, in which, one of these cops, had to deal with the fact that she was blind and was almost in a relationship with a serial killer that... was obsessed with paintings.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. She had a lot,
and she played the leader of these cops.
And she also had to deal with the fact that she was friends with this woman in Louisiana. She got turned into a vampire.
That's a lot to deal with for a cop,
Yeah, just lots. So no wonder she turned to crime.
So we got the resolution to, her basically eventually standing down because of Lance. And everything Lance saying.
This most amazing impassioned speech.
Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to do something after that because then Oliver was still talking about the whole kind of mayoral thing, and he was talking about it with Lance, and I was like, oh, they're going to do it so that, he doesn't end up running for mayor, but he has Lance run instead. No. And then no, they still Oliver for mayor.
No, I knew Oliver was going to run.
He finally found his platform, which is we should all be like we're at a sports game.
Yeah, exactly. We should all be at a sports game. I still don't know what his legit platform is, so that's okay. That doesn't matter.
It's a salmon ladder. Salmon ladders for all the citizens.
They were raising all these objections, and stuff, but then it's who's running against him? So far, nobody. So, if that's the case, do you even need a platform? Do you even need to show up?
And have Damien Dark. The big conclusion, it's not going to be a battle. It's going to be Damien Dark versus Oliver Queen and in the debate to end all debates.
Yeah, I know, right?
That would actually be kind of funny if they did a debate episode.
It's just going to be an adaptation of the movie Election, starring Matthew Broderick.
I think they should do a format break and do an episode where it's just a 1 hour debate.
Yes.
And then they even do overlays on the screen, CNN overlay or something, and have an actual reporter from some show, have Anderson Cooper moderating the debate, and just have that be the whole episode.
Damien Dark, what's your qualifications? Damien Dark starts making stuff float. Impressive.
Your rebuttal, Queen? He shoots the stuff with an arrow.
Your rebuttal? I would say he does flips, but that would be Roy.
Your rebuttal? He's all, well, if somebody would set up my salmon ladder back there, I'll just take off my shirt.
Yeah, right?
Anything else to say about this episode?
Felicity gets hints that Ray Palmer might still... Or no, Felicity gets Ray Palmer's last message to her.
And then decides not to listen to it.
Yeah. But then Mr. Terrific convinces her to listen to it.
Mm-hmm. So we can finally get the possibility of finding out what's up with Ray. I wonder if they're going to do what he's been doing all this time episode, like they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Simmons.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, so we
that would actually be kind of cool. They did him as a miniature guy trying to survive, and you could see him overhearing conversations and stuff like that, and seeing the people in the distance, and
trying
to find a way to
from his microscopic perspective.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
So we gotta get to his episode to set him up for Legends of Tomorrow. And of course, the next episode is going to all be about Sarah. So that's going to be her setup for Legends of Tomorrow, how she gets resold and possibly becomes the White Canary instead of the Black Canary.
Mm-hmm.
That's more set up for Legends of Tomorrow. And then they got that, and then that's practically the entire team.
Like I said, the first half of both seasons of Flash and Arrow are all going to be set up for Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, even Damien Dark is going to be in Legends of Tomorrow, so in a way, his appearance on the show is set up for Legends of Tomorrow.
Right. And apparently they're setting up a big Flash and Arrow crossover for this season, which I'm sure also ties into Legends of Tomorrow in some way.
You there?
You there? Yeah, okay. You froze.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's also going to be set up for Legends of Tomorrow. That's pretty much it, right? For Arrow.
Yeah.
We just kind of have to look forward to the next episode with Constantine, the struggle for Sarah's soul.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that. I'm just looking forward to seeing Matt Ryan's Constantine again. I thought he did a great job with that character.
I liked Constantine. I think it had some issues. I think most of those had to do with the kind of format. The same company that owns CW, also, Warner, they also own CBS, and they also own Showtime. I think Showtime would have been a great home for Constantine.
I think so. It needed to be a basic cable show or a premium cable show.
Yeah, like 10 to 12 episodes a year, kind of real focused.
NBC just wasn't the right home for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It just structurally didn't work, but Matt Ryan's, his Constantine was great, so.
Yes.
It'd be cool to see him again. I'm hoping he shows up. Maybe he'll show up in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
I think he'd fit in more there than he would in Arrow.
I'm just thinking the concept Oliver Queen knows him, that he'd be willing to call him a favor and be all buddy with Oliver Queen just seems weird. Like weird for that character.
I have an old frat buddy from when I went to college in England.
I have an old frat buddy. Even though, I hate frat people and I hate superheroes, but okay.
One time I was at a bar in London and this guy asked to borrow a smoke from me, and I said, "Well, you owe me a favor."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how they're gonna play it off, but I'm excited to see Constantine back. So
I'm excited too. So it's gonna be a good episode.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to next week's Flash too, because I really want to see Barry's interaction with the new Dr. Wells, especially since there is so much pain there for Barry.
Plus, Jay Garrett's going to be there, so he'll have presumably some connection to this Harrison Wells, which will add some kind of cool perspective. They're going to have this trio of speedsters, I guess, or one of them's not really a speedster, I guess, but.
And I want to know who this Harrison Wells is, because we don't know who he is. Technically, he could be anybody. He could be good. He could be evil. He could be in between. He could be. We don't know. So lots to look forward to next week.
He could be a part-time clown who also works as an attorney of law.
Yeah, exactly.
Be anything.
He could be the Arrow of Earth 2.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's it for our show tonight. So thank you for everybody for listening to TVE versus Marvel and DC episode 4. We're going to be back next week, of course, with episode 6. We're going to be talking about the next episodes of all of these shows. Maybe not Supergirl. We'll have to see based on how it's kind of fitting in with the universe or not, or if it's doing anything interesting that conflicts with it. Then we'll talk about it, I think. But otherwise, maybe not. We'll see. We'll just kind of play it by ear on that one.
Yeah.
we'll see. I guess basically we'll just check in and see if any of us are interested in talking about it.
Well, the interesting for me with Supergirl is it's not on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have a hard time watching. I'd have to check out CBS's website, see if I can watch it there.
Yeah.
Because I just realized CBS doesn't really put their shows up on Hulu like everybody else. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well. Unfortunately, yeah, the CBS has like their own contracts things. They have a subscription service, but it's not really worth it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So check out our website, TVEnthusiast.com. Check out our podcast we do every week as well, the weekly set. We just did episode 31, I believe, was the last one we did. And we're going to keep doing them, so check those out. You can check those out on iTunes or any of your podcast aggregates, Pocket Cast, anything along those lines will work. Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for watching TVE versus Marvel and DC. I am your host, Tyson. Will joined us. Kat joined us. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.